Good evening, everybody. I'd like to welcome you all. This is our regularly scheduled City Council meeting for Tuesday, August 19th. And if you would, please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And our roll call, please.
Dave Frank.
Present.
Judy Ann.
Present.
J. David Reed.
Present.
Doug Glassball.
Present.
Thank you. And Mr. Ulibarri is not feeling well. We wish him the best. Mayor Pro Tem Files, are there any changes or additions or deletions to the agenda?
Not that I was made aware of.
Thank you. Our next item is our call for public comment. The call for public comment agenda item is a time when concerned members of the community may publicly voice their concerns, discuss items of interest. Please note that no formal action will be taken on the matters raised during this time. Comments made during this time should be addressed to the council and pertain to matters of at least general importance to the city and its operations. Please be aware that neither city council nor city staff are expected to respond or engage in discussion or debate. Please refrain from any personal attacks or disagreements, personnel or employment matters, the use of profanity or ethnic, racial, or gender-oriented slurs, as they may be considered disorderly conduct, which violates state or local law. And if you wish to make public comment, we give you 3 minutes. I will let you know when you have 30 seconds left. If you would please line up starting at the front here and going back for everyone wishing to make public comment. Go ahead, Mr. Brown.
Good evening. My name is John Brown. How are you guys tonight? I was reading with great interest that our representative from Washington, Jeff Hurd, was commenting today, or was it yesterday, that the federal government should not fund cities that are sanctuary, let alone states that are sanctuary. And I'm here again with the same appeal to have our city council put together something in writing that states that we are non-sanctuary. We all know that a verbal is not something that'll stand up in court. We all know that people will deny anything that is said verbally. But once it's in writing, it becomes fact, it becomes true as to what's on the piece of paper. It would be something to make sure that this town becomes non-sanctuary in the strongest sense of the word, to ensure that the federal funds that are coming into this city right now don't get cut off, don't get terminated. Because let's face it, all of this is our tax dollars, not yours, as the city council. It is the people's money, whether it comes from the city sales tax, whether it comes from our property tax, whether it comes from our state tax, whether it comes from the federal government in any kind of grant. It is still our tax dollars. We, the people, have been asking you for over a year now to make this simple statement in writing. I know that a verbal statement was made some time ago, and that there has not been anything done about it in writing. That does not constitute a declaration for the city. That just means that whoever said that said it because they felt that it would be something that would appease me. Writing, put it in writing, whatever you're saying. That's how we know that you're earnest.
Is there anyone else wishing to make public comment on non-agenda items?
I'm John Connell, 826 Howard Fork Avenue, Montrose. I'm going to share a conversation I had with Scott this afternoon, and I'm going to drag Chris Dowsey into it as well. Morning, Scott. Can you tell me if the 2022 Drainage Stormwater Management Plan was deficient in any way? We're speaking for Waterfall Canyon here. Scott's answer so far, everything is up to par as we know. We'll get a final drainage certification for filing 6B upon final plat, close out paperwork approval, so if anything outstanding associated with that filing, it would come up then, but I'm not aware of any outstanding issues associated with the filing. My response, it sounds like you're currently operating under the 2022 plan. Is that the case? Filing 6B was done in 2025. In the 2022 plan, it specifically stated, page 2 middle, all the ponds were modeled assuming they're in their final configuration and sized according to lot layouts and construction drawings. In Mr. Dowsey's letter dated 10/18/24, he states the enlargement of the pond was needed for stormwater management. That's obviously not true. Did they just run the same numbers from 2022, or did they run another model based on the changes in the two ponds? Hi, John. The 2022 drainage plan was a representative system prior to enlarging of the pond. When the pond was enlarged, as-built surveys of both ponds, Northern Pond and City Pond, were conducted, and the drainage plan report was updated to reflect the current conditions. These updates are found in a report that was produced late in 2024 to document the addition of an outlet structure at the northern large pond. The augmentation plan was also updated to reflect the current conditions and configuration of the pond. Until the outlet structure was installed last month, the neighborhood was still operating under the 2022 report. With the installation of the outlet structure and the filing of Plat 6B, the neighborhood will now be operating under current drainage. Exactly. It was never part of the large pond was never part of the 2022 plan. In fact, there was no planning whatsoever. You were just reacting to whatever Matt did. Mr. Dowsey's letter was total BS. At the time he wrote it, the pond enlargement was not included in the plan. My question has been the same from the beginning. My question, which remains unanswered, is where in the zoning law do you find the ability to carry out an operation of this type? It's heavy industrial operation inside a residentially zoned area. Within 6 months of Matt losing his case in the county, he started digging here. We have Matt on tape at the Zoom meeting calling the Northwest
You have
Pond
30
a
seconds.
pit run. You know, ask me, what's a pit run? I have no idea. So I Googled it. And of course I can't find it because I'm not a techie. Pit run describes exactly what he's doing there. How do you document the addition of a structure in 2024 when it wasn't installed until July of 25? Also, the outlet structure was only installed after repeated complaints from the homeowners of Waterfall Canyon regarding the water level.
Sorry, sir, your time is up. Thank you.
Okay.
Anyone else wishing to make public comment? Seeing none, we'll move on to our next agenda item. Agenda item number 6, approval of minutes. City Council consideration of the minutes of the August 5th, 2025 regular City Council meeting. And we will entertain a motion to approve those minutes.
So move.
You have to actually make the
I
motion.
have to have a motion first.
Second.
You have to actually read the motion.
I thought she just did.
No.
Okay.
So let's try this again. I
I
would
would
entertain a
move.
motion.
I'll find it here on my computer's not. All right, I would move to approve the minutes of the August 5th, 2025 regular city council meeting as presented.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'll second that.
There now is a motion and a second. Thank you. And that passes unanimously. Moving on to item number 7, City Council consideration of the Montrose County Elections Intergovernmental Agreement between the Montrose County Clerk and Recorder and the City of Montrose for the placement of a charter amendment ballot question on the November 4th, 2025 general election ballot. City Attorney Chris Dowsey.
Thank you, Mayor Frank. Before council is an intergovernmental agreement in order to coordinate with the county to have the charter amendment actually be on the ballot. That is a requirement from Montrose County. If in fact the next agenda item passes, we will need to enter into this agreement to actually have the ballot question be on the ballot and have it become a combined election. With that, the IGA is in the packet. If there are any questions, I'm happy to answer.
Any questions for Mr. Dowsey? Accept public comment on this item? And seeing none, would entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the Montrose County Elections Intergovernmental Agreement between the Montrose County Clerk and Recorder and the City of Montrose as presented.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Please vote. And that passes unanimously. Moving on to item number 8, ordinance 2690 on second reading. City Council consideration of ordinance 2690 on second reading. An ordinance of the City of Montrose, Colorado, submitting to a vote to the registered electors of the City of Montrose proposed amendments to Article 1, Sections 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 14, Article 2, Sections 2, 4, 9, Article 3, Sections 1, 4, 7, Article 4, Sections 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 14, and 16, 18, 20, 21, 22, and 23, Article 5, Sections 5 and 19, Article 6, Sections 3 and 5, Article 7, Sections 1, 2, and 3, Article 8, Sections 1, 2, 3, and 5, Article 9, Sections 3, 5, 6, and Article 10, Section 1 of the Charter of the City of Montrose, and additions of Article 4, Sections 24 and 25, Article 8, Sections 9 to the Charter of the City of Montrose, and setting a ballot measure for the November 4th, 2025 coordinated election. Once again, City Attorney Chris Dowsey.
Thank you again, Mayor Frank. Again, as last time, I'm not going to go through each one individually, as it is quite a mouthful, just to say the sections that we are amending or putting forth to the voters to possibly amend. So before council is the ordinance, which will set the ballot language for the charter amendment, as well as the actual charter amendments themselves. If any member of the public would like to see an extensive discussion on the proposed amendments, it was discussed at length at the May 19th work session, as well as final amendments were discussed at the work session on July 14th. I'll kind of go over a broad overview of what the changes that are being proposed are. That is the removal of gender-specific language throughout the charter, changing 2 terms in the charter that have the same definition to only be 1 term. That's going to alleviate some confusion why the 1 term was used in some sections as opposed to the other. Giving defined term limits for council members in election years. Allow for notice of meetings to be in accordance with Colorado revised statutes, update recall requirements, update franchise and public utilities to conform to state and federal law, remove residency requirements for the municipal judge, clarify the city attorney section, put oaths of office specific to the titles under their sections, as well as give the city clerk additional time to certify signatures on petitions. This will be done by 1 ballot question, so it'll be a yes or a no for all of these changes. You will note in the packet, so if this is approved, there will be 2 copies put onto the website. One will be a redlined version as well as a clean version if all of these amendments are accepted by the voters. With that, I'll answer any questions.
Mr. Dowsey, just for the record, there have been no changes since the first reading. Is that correct?
That is correct. There have been no changes since the first reading.
Another clarification is that the vast majority are housekeeping items to basically bring us in compliance with state and federal laws and best practices as advocated by the Colorado Municipal League and the state legislature.
Correct. Specifically, the franchise and public utilities, we did have in my opinion, the foremost attorney go through this section and make the amendments. So that's really to conform with like I said, the state and federal law changes that have occurred since we implemented those. as well as the notice requirements for meetings. That has significantly changed in Colorado revised statutes. So this would really just get us up to date.
Very good. Any other questions for Mr. Dowsey? Is there any public comment on this item? Mr. Brown, you have 3 minutes as normal procedure.
John Brown, Montrose. Is there any way that, you said it, well, first off, you said the measure is going to be on the internet in a place that we can get to it, because all of this information that we have here on our agenda today is very confusing. It has absolutely no meaning other than, look at all these things they want to change. And a lot of us are slow, and we need to know what does this one mean? What does Section 1 mean? What is that dealing with? What about Article 9, Section 3? How can that be under the same bill if it's talking about something different? So I can see that you want to consolidate all the changes that you want to make, but we need to know what all of those individual changes are before we can honestly come to the polls and say, we agree with you, or no, we don't agree with you. So is there some place that you can publish, readily publish, that we can come and look at this information even before a final vote is made? I think you need public input, but more specifically, people that can give you input that's based upon facts of knowledge, rather than a bunch of numbers here. Even when the proposal was being read, it was mumble, jumble, stumble, trying to get through the whole thing. So it would really be good if you guys could put something in writing, maybe put it out here that we could go to, that we could look at it when we come in for our city council meetings, or something on the internet that we can print off at home and read it so that we'd know. Thank you very much for your consideration.
So in answer to that that is what Mr. Dowsey was saying about.
May I?
Oh, please.
Okay, so yes, if you actually look in the full agenda packet, it does have the ordinance. The ordinance itself has how every single section will read that's being changed. It does not have the actual red line itself. As I stated in my presentation, we will be putting it, I'm going to get with our IT department and get different versions of the charter on our website. One will be a red line that will show every single change of the full charter itself, as well as a clean copy that will have all of the changes as is. So if in fact the voters do approve this measure, this is how the charter will read itself. Additionally, as it sits right now, we do have the charter available. That's through MuniCode. It's along with our municipal code. So if you go onto the city website, you can find our code of ordinances. It is the first thing in there. It is the charter and has everything there. If anyone is having difficulty, please reach out to me. I believe my information should be on the website. I'm happy to download anything and then send it, forward it on to any citizen. Thank you.
Any other public comment on this item? Seeing none, would entertain a motion.
Oh, it just went away. Excuse me. I'll make a motion to adopt ordinance 2690 on second reading as presented.
I'll second that.
Motion and a second. Please vote. And that passes unanimously. Moving on to item number 9, Resolution 2025-14, City Council consideration of Resolution 2025-14, setting October 7, 2025 as the hearing date for the annexation of the Mitchell addition and Senior Planner William Reese.
Thank you, and good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of City Council, and members of the public. I do have a brief presentation to share, so I'll pull that up here shortly. We did briefly discuss this proposed annexation during the August 4th work session. Tonight obviously serves as the resolution to set a hearing date, which we are proposing for October 7th. In the meantime, we will plan to bring this to the Planning Commission for a recommendation of zoning later this month. Just to very briefly recap for the public, this is a proposed 4.85 acre site. It is within the city's urban growth boundary and the city utility service areas. This is being done as a result of a boundary line adjustment that is between a property that's currently in the city and one that's currently in the county, the city property being the one gaining the property. That would result in a property that was theoretically both in and out of city limits, which could create some jurisdictional issues. And so this is really just a cleanup annexation with that proposed boundary line adjustment. The property that's, or the part of the property that's already in city limits is already zoned R2 low density district. And so this proposal would be R2 as well. This slide shows the annexation plat itself, showing the meets and bounds description of the property as well as its contiguity to city limits. The property is shown as residential mixed density low, indicating the property would be appropriate for detached and small amounts of attached residential development. And finally, the property is within Growth Area 1, which includes unannexed enclaves such as we have here. This annexation would not entirely remove an enclave, but it would reduce the size of an existing one. Due to the size of the property, this will not require an annexation impact report. We do have an annexation agreement. Staff recommends approval of Resolution 2025-14 to set October 7th as the official hearing date for the J.C. Mitchell edition. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. And just a reiteration that this is just to set the hearing date. This is not hearing the merits of that annexation.
That's correct.
And so are there any questions from council?
No, thank you.
And we would accept any public comment on this item. And seeing none, would entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to adopt Resolution 2025-14 as presented.
Second?
There's a motion and a second. Please vote. That passes unanimously. Moving on to item 10, wastewater treatment plant improvement project change order number 2. City Council consideration of the wastewater treatment plant improvement project change order number 2, authorizing pre-purchase agreements for long lead items in the amount of $1,085,472. And this is Utilities Director, Mr. Breeze.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Again, this is for the wastewater treatment plant project. As many of you recall, the project or the treatment plant originally was built in 1984, and much of this is the original equipment that has utilized its useful life and is due for replacement. Some of these items are months, if not years, for delivery from the shop drawing review process and the submittals and all of that stuff. And so in order to keep the project on track, we're recommending that we enter into these pre-purchase agreements with the vendors that were the low bids on these projects or these components so that we can get them in queue for construction or fabrication and get them delivered in a timely manner so that we can put them in at the wastewater treatment plant. In February, we awarded a design build contract to Burns McDonald and Maltz Construction, who's been working through the design and the bidding process for all of this equipment. So with this, it would be the purchase of the ultraviolet disinfection equipment, which is a critical component of the wastewater treatment plant. We've been struggling with that the last couple of years, trying to keep the bulbs and the ballast operational and stuff. And so to complete this early 2026 is really going to help save us a lot of costs in replacing these ballasts and stuff. The other two components on this pre-purchase agreement is the surface aerators. The surface aerators are what infuse the oxygen into the wastewater flow to allow the biology of the treatment process to be effective. These aerators were manufactured back in the 1980s. The manufacturer no longer supports these aerators. In fact, about a year or so ago, we bought the last pallet of the replacement paddles that are available for these aerators. So at this point in time, we can't replace a critical component on these aerators if they fail. So that's the other thing. We're hoping to try to get the surface aerators replaced with aerators that are manufactured and supported by the manufacturer. The third item is the replacement generator. The current generator we have does not have the capacity to run the entire treatment plant. So we are looking at or upsizing that generator to run all the critical components at the wastewater treatment plant and power that in the event that we have a power outage. Again, the total for this change order is $1,085,472. And that gets us into that pre-purchasing, gets us in line with these manufacturers, and so these products can be delivered in a timely manner.
Mr. Breeze, that's already included in our budget?
Yes, we included $3 million in the 2025 budget for this project. This change order brings our total project authorization to $2,540,315. So we're still about $500,000 under our budget for the 2025.
Very good, thank you. Any other questions for Mr. Breeze?
I'd just like to comment that I think it's important, Mr. Breeze, that we continue to inform our community how expensive the wastewater treatment plant is. I think a lot of people don't even think about the importance of it, let alone how expensive that is to run and maintain. So thank you very much.
Yeah, this project is going to be about a $30 million project at the wastewater treatment plant. Portion of it is actually to upgrade the treatment plant to new standards that are being implemented throughout the state. But there's a large part of the project is replacing aging infrastructure as well.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any public comment on this item? And seeing none, would entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the wastewater treatment plant improvement project change order number 2, authorizing the pre-purchase agreement for long lead items in the amount of $1,085,472 as presented.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Please vote. That passes unanimously. Moving on to item number 11, City Council consideration of the renewal of the agreement with Bruin Waste Management for landfill services. And this is Public Works Director Jim Scheid.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and City Council. As you mentioned, this is a contract renewal with Bruin Waste for landfill services. Nothing has changed on this since we discussed it at work session. But since so many people came out to hear about landfill services, I'll explain a little bit. This is for city crews collect all of our municipal and commercial trash and deliver it to a landfill. In this case, we bid this service out last year and awarded this to Bruin Waste and have since been using them for over a year now with very good results. So they're a transfer station north of town, which is a little bit closer than actually going out to the landfill that's out east of town. So it's helped shorten our routes, changed a little bit of the wear and tear on our vehicles, and has changed some of the way we operate because of that. So we've seen a lot of benefits from it, as well as tipping fees. So when we awarded this was actually our lower tipping fee option. And this contract renewal will come with an increase in tipping fees, but it is in line with the CPI increase for the year. So we've accounted for that in our budget for 2025 and 2026. So we feel comfortable recommending extending this contract with Bruin.
Any questions for Mr. Scheid? And is there any public comment on this item? Seeing none, would entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve the renewal of the agreement with Bruin Waste Management for landfill services as presented.
I'll second that.
Motion and a second. Please vote. And that passes unanimously. Mr. Reed.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Consistent with what I have done previously relative to matters of Waterfall Canyon, I'm going to recuse myself from participation in voting on item 12 and 13 and remove myself from the room.
Thank you. We'll give you time to get out. So moving on to item 12, City Council consideration of the Waterfall Canyon subdivision filing number 6A final plat to dedicate a 5.09 acre tract to the city for use as a public park as well as associated rights-of-way. Mr. Reese.
Thank you again, Mr. Mayor. So Waterfall Canyon filing number 6A is currently on a 107.22 acre site, which is legally described. Oh, sorry, can I steal the screen back so I can share the presentation? There we go, thank you. It's on a 107.22 acre site, which is legally described as Outlot 5 of the Waterfall Canyon subdivision, filing number 6. And this plat proposes dedicating a 5.09 acre tract of land to the city for use as a future public park, as well as a small amount of right-of-way. The property overall is zoned R3 medium density district and R3A medium high density district. The Waterfall Canyon amended preliminary plat number 3 was approved by the City Council on June 20th, 2022. For a final plat, all lots must meet the minimum lot size per the underlying zoning. All surrounding streets must be in place and approved by the city engineer, and water, sewer, and other utilities must be installed. This is the first page of the plat itself, which mostly consists of the standard plat notes and certificates. And for the public, I know these are impossible to see on these screens here, but all these documents are in the public packet available online. The second page shows the site overall, mostly consisting of an outlot reserved for future development. And the final page shows the actual tract of land planned to be dedicated to the city of Montrose, as well as a small portion dedicated as right-of-way on the eastern side of the park. This plat itself is strictly related to the dedication of the land and the subdivision, rather than any specifics of the design of a future park, which would come at a later time. Staff does find that the final plat is in compliance with subdivision regulations and the comprehensive plan. The proposal meets the intent of the R3A zoning district and the Waterfall Canyon preliminary plat. Staff recommends approval of the Waterfall Canyon subdivision filing number 6A final plat with the standard plat note that we recommend for all final plats. And I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have.
So just for clarification, the intent of this is only to dedicate that park?
That park and just a very small sliver of right-of-way.
Very sliver of right-of-way. So it isn't relevant to the subdivision itself, just the dedication of that right-of-way and the park.
Correct.
Thank you. Any other questions for Mr. Reese? And is there any public comment on this item? And seeing none, would entertain a motion. Oh, sorry. Please come up and state your name and where you're from. And you have 3 minutes to speak.
Thank you. Aaron Ranstrom, Blue Lake Drive in Waterfall Canyon. So just a quick question on this process of dedication of, at what point does the city take ownership of maintenance, and or am I misunderstanding that dedication? Who continues maintenance of the area? Right now, walking the dogs around the neighborhood, a lot of vegetation overgrowth. There's a lot of promotion of See It, Click It, Fix It app. It's been submitted, it's on there. Just don't know the timelines of that new process, the backlog of those items. Just wondering, specific to this pond area, all that vegetation, whose maintenance does that become? And at what point in time does that take place? That's
So
about
this
it.
is only for the park? And Mr. Reese, could answer that question?
Yes, that's correct. This plat would dedicate the tract of land to the city. If it is approved tonight, it will need to be fully executed, signed, recorded, all of that, and that takes a little bit of time. So it's not effective as of tonight, but once it is fully executed, that land officially does become the city's land, and then the city would take over maintenance of that property.
So it's not the current adjacent homeowners association, it's not the current developer because it's now out of hands. It's city solely.
Yeah, that specific 5.09
Understood.
acres,
Yeah,
correct?
that block. Okay, thank you.
Hi, my name's Lori Cannell. I live at 826 Howard Fork Avenue. I've looked forward to the day that the city of Montrose would own Fuller Lake, an area I hope looks a lot like the picture on Leadership Circle's homepage. That page shows a beautiful, usable, green common area. It will be a wonderful amenity to our neighborhood. I would like to see a grassy area, benches, picnic tables, a few shelters, trees, a dog station, and 2 or 3 simple play equipment for the children. This park will be our community's central gathering place. We need this, a place to build relationships, have picnics and social events. A place for kids to play and run. Our lots are small and many are xeriscape, so this will be a real benefit for the kids. A place to enjoy the natural habitat of the fish, birds, and other wildlife around the pond. A well-maintained green area with a pond will have a positive impact not only on our community, excuse me, but the surrounding communities. We have waited years for this green space to be improved, and we cannot wait for our children, adults, and dogs to have a space to play and recreate. Thank you so much, and we look forward to what this will look like and working with the city. My questions for you about the pond is, what are your plans for the Fuller Lake? What will it look like? Do you know that? And what is the timeline of the full project? We've heard it's going to be done in phases. Is that something you can tell us about?
We're not actually discussing anything about a pond
Okay.
at all tonight. All we're discussing at this item is the park, the
Well,
dedication.
that's what I'm saying, the park.
Yeah, the
do you
dedication of the
know?
park.
Okay.
Yeah,
So you
and-
can't
and
tell us what the park
timeline,
will
I
look
think
like?
that's going to be one of those, we have to develop a timeline once we have a little bit better information on what we want to do and so on. So Mr. Scheid could probably answer a little bit more about that.
Yeah, I can comment on it a little bit. So we have included, and I'm not sure if it was this year's budget or last year's budget, there was one of these recent budgets that included materials for this project, kind of awaiting for this final plat to be completed. So there are some improvements planned now. They're relatively small and crushed refined trails, a few benches and tables to be put around. And I think that's basically the extent of what would be, call it phase 1. And then moving into future year budgets, there are other plans for more improvements to be made there, but those haven't been included in a budget yet. So things like playground equipment or shelters, those things would come in the future. But we do have plans for kind of an initial phase of that starting soon.
Okay, thank you.
My name is Susan Kroll, 1403 Blue Lake Drive in the Waterfall Canyon subdivision. And when they talk about the rights of way for access, I presume, into this park, as I said, I live on Blue Lake Drive, which is the main entry point, the only real official entry point into that subdivision, much to our dismay and concerns for public safety. But considering the development that has taken place, there's a tremendous amount of traffic on Blue Lake Drive, a tremendous amount. It's become a major thoroughfare nearly. And even though it has residential zoning or regulations for speed of traffic, people seem to believe that it's more like the Indianapolis 500 coming down Blue Lake Drive. I would like to know what specifically will be developed as far as access to this park property so that it doesn't continue to build up excessive traffic on Blue Lake Drive. Because right now that's our only way in and out. And if people from the whole community can access this park, We don't need the whole community driving on Blue Lake Drive, I can tell you that. Right now, I haven't gotten a traffic count on it. There was a traffic count meter placed, but that was just for the basic entry on 6375 Road. Nothing on Blue Lake Drive. And if this becomes a public park, given over to the city, and people utilize it as such, the traffic will become intolerable for the safety and the lifestyle of the people who already live in the community. And I am considering myself buying one of those signs that says, drive as if your children lived here, or maybe your grandchildren lived here, because they drive like maniacs on that street. And I've asked for police intervention. They parked an empty police car at the entrance to the subdivision, which was effective for about 2 hours, and then people realized that's all it was, and it has no effect. And the traffic is a major concern on Blue Lake Drive and other areas in the community, and this would be a safety hazard unless there are provisions for a separate and easily identifiable directed traffic access to the park. So I would like that identified. Thank you.
So looking at the plat, it looks like the dedicated easement access is for the mailbox pullout. Is that what I'm seeing correctly? And that's off Pilot Knob Avenue?
I believe that's correct, yeah.
So it isn't the dedicated easement the right-of-way is only the area that would be pulled out for the mailbox access.
Okay, well, as it proceeds, then, I want some consideration to be given to control of traffic in the community, because Pilot Knob, you have to still travel on Blue Lake Drive to get to Pilot Knob. It's still a major influx area and a safety concern, especially when school's in session and school buses are stopping and kids are moving. I don't want anybody to run over to make my point for me. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment?
Hi, my name is Deb Stainer, and I live in Waterfall Canyon. I just had a quick question about the future phases for the park. Will we as residents, because this is going to be something major for our community, will we have an opportunity to request and suggest some things that we'd like to see in this park?
Yes. Yeah, there's really been little to no design work done on this at all. Like I said, the improvements we're talking about initially are very basic, and yeah, planning for the future, and as getting into more conceptual level designs come along, that's where we would definitely take input from the surrounding community and try to include those.
Great. Thank you very much.
Hi, David. Thank you for letting me speak. My name is Linda Zeman. I don't live in Waterfall Park, but I think the whole idea of approving a designated piece of land for a development without a stage, like without plans, actual plans to see what it's supposed to look like, the end product is supposed to look like, is a bit preposterous, because you're designating this land to the city, but none of the residents around there, nor people who will be using that park, know what the final product is going to look like. That's like buying a car online and someone telling you can buy a car for $10,000. You have no idea what the car looks like, how old it is, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, anybody who's going to purchase something or designate something should be able to go to the seller or the manufacturer and say, I want a finished product. I want to know what it is I'm allowing you to make as part of the city land before I sign on to this. I think that's just logical. I'm very surprised that we don't have something laid out so the residents can see what this final product will look like. And again, I don't live in that area, but I sympathize and empathize for the people who will be part of that park and be able to enjoy it. Thank you.
Any other public comment?
Will I still be able to fish there? There's no fish in the pond, but will I still be able to?
I don't know of any fish there.
You're right, there's none there, but will I still be able to fish? They're really small.
I don't know. I would assume so, yes.
Okay, thank you.
All right, any other public comment?
Hi, my name is Crystal Pizzuso. I live at 241 Howard Fort Drive. I don't own there, I rent there. I've been there for a year. I'd like to be able to stay longer. I have 11 grandchildren in the city and three adult children who own businesses here. And I'll tell you what, if they were going to put a business or a second business in this town, there would have to be an architectural plan drawn up. So I propose that there be an architectural plan drawn up for the citizens of this community and also for the city of Montrose, because it affects our whole city, the whole city, because there will be children coming from different areas of Montrose. I've been here a long time. I've been here in this area since the 80s. And I find it preposterous that someone would even consider giving a plot of land to the city without there being some kind of a foresight, a plan, an architectural plan. I wouldn't be allowed to do that even if I was going to build a house here. So, and the other thing is, so I'm asking if there would be a plan. So I'd like there to be a vote on that from the citizens of the community and also the city of Montrose. That they vote after there is a plan in place, architectural drawings, which I'm sure you're familiar with doing, okay, with a detailed plan of what was going to happen, and also the consequences if this city decided to back out of it. What could they possibly do with that piece of property that might not agree with the people in that community and this city? I think it's only natural to be able to do that. I don't understand how a group of people would give a plot of land over to the city without there being some kind of a future foresight for them. It's ridiculous. You wouldn't send your children to a school without a plan for them for a full year. You wouldn't even have a child in this community without a plan for what was going to happen later on. So I vote that, my personal vote is that you would put out a plan, call in the architects, come to an agreement with the city, whether they would have a right to back out of this plan in the future or not. There's no guarantees. The people need more of a guarantee. This is just like a shoot in the wind here. It's ridiculous. They have no idea what's coming. They don't know if you're going to give them 1 park bench, 2 park benches, 3 park benches, or none. They have no idea.
30 seconds.
So, thank you.
Hi there, I'm Catherine Luce, and I'm at 220 Howard Fork Avenue. And I was asking, or making it a point, is there gonna be restrooms at this park? Because the restrooms at the Tavawatch Park are outhouses, and I really don't want outhouses in my subdivision. And I also need it to be handicap accessible, because I myself am handicapped. So that's all I wanna know, what your plan looks like, what you're proposing, and if there's restrooms. If it's open to the public, I mean, where are they gonna go to the bathroom?
There- Go ahead.
So, as was mentioned by the Public Works Director, our plan is what we budgeted in our last 2 budgets, and that's to make it a walking trail around the area with some shelter and bench amenities.
Okay.
That's the only thing we're planning to do in the near future, and maintain it to where it's a nice, attractive facility without being covered in weeds and overgrowth and those types of things. So it would be a soft surface trail feature for the community.
Okay.
If we get to the point where the community asks us for a neighborhood park, playgrounds and more traditional type things that you would see in other neighborhood parks, that would be driven by the community. The city doesn't, we don't have a master plan to say we want to build more neighborhood parks. That isn't in our comprehensive plan. We have a lot of neighborhood parks already. This one is a recreational style park to be used to let people recreate and that type of thing as of right now. But if the community comes together and comes to us and says, hey, we would really like some of these amenities to be added, then we'll meet with the community and have those discussions, put some plans in place, and then put money into that following year's budget. But as of right now, we're just planning to do phase 1 like was mentioned, just kind of a trail area, soft surface trail, make sure it looks nice and has some seating areas for people. So we don't have any plans at all right now to build big playground or huge features that would attract a bunch of kids from the entire community. That hasn't even been in our discussions at all.
Okay, well, just a thought.
Ma'am, if you've already spoken, we don't put more comments.
I wanted to speak to a comment that Mr. Bell just made regarding the soft surface trails, which we had something which was a few were allegedly soft surface trails placed in the subdivision earlier for people to move around, and they lasted a grand total of maybe 2 months between, God provide us, some rain and construction traffic, and all of a sudden those trails ceased to be existing. So if you're talking about the kind of gravel that supposedly compacts, that was not effective when it was first done on our subdivision. It ceased to exist within 2 months of its installation. Just wanted you to be aware of that.
Thank you,
Yeah,
ma'am.
I'm talking about those soft surface trails you see throughout our entire park system, and they've lasted for decades. So it would be done at our level of quality.
I think I have 3 minutes.
Please, we're not going to have a whole bunch of repeat comments. Thank you.
It's not a repeat comment, it's a new comment. So I have 3 seconds, right? So you have no plan. You said you have no plan. So without a plan, there is no plan. That's like stating that you're a sanctuary city without it written down. So the city needs to have a plan.
Okay,
Not
ma'am,
just we
you're
might do
saying the
this and
exact
we
same
might do
thing.
that.
Thank you.
Mhm.
I can say there is a plan, we have one, we have a copy of it. I think it's 2022, there is a plan for that park. And it had more than just walking trails. There's pavilions and other things.
Thank you.
In that plan.
All right. We're going to go ahead and close off public comment and would entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve Waterfall Canyon subdivision filing number 6A, final plat, expressly conditioned upon the city staff encouraging that all policies, regulations, ordinances, and municipal code provisions are met and the applicant adequately addressed all of staff's concerns prior to the execution of the final plat. The city staff is not authorized by this approval to execute the final plat prior to all conditions being satisfied.
I'll second.
Motion and a second. Please vote. And that passes unanimously. Moving on to item 13, Waterfall Canyon filing number 68, final plat. City Council consideration of the Waterfall Canyon filing number 60, is it 6B or 68? 6B, final plat to create 32 residential lots as well as associated easements, right-of-way, and open space, subject to the Cascade Estate Homeowners Association. And this is, again, Senior Planner William Rees.
Thank you again. I also have a presentation for this one as well. If I could steal the screen back. Yeah, thank you. Waterfall Canyon 6B is located in the same area, what is currently a 107.22 acre site, but assuming filing 6A is recorded, it would be a 102.1 acre site. And assuming both plats are approved, the 6A plat will need to be recorded before the 6B plat. This plat proposes 32 new residential lots along with associated rights-of-way and open space, which would be owned and maintained by a new HOA by the name of Cascade Estates, separate from the Waterfall Canyon HOA. Again, the property is zoned R3 Medium Density District and R3A Medium High Density District, though the lots themselves would be within R3A. And again, this is part of the Waterfall Canyon amended preliminary plat number 3, approved in 2022. Which was a reapproval of the original preliminary plat, which was approved in 2006. This preliminary plat is the reason the title of the final plat remains as Waterfall Canyon instead of the new HOA of Cascade Estates, but this would fall under a new and separate HOA from Waterfall Canyon, which the plat notes do reflect. All proposed lots must meet the minimum lot size according to the underlying zoning district. All surrounding streets must be in place, and easements, water, sewer, and other utilities must be installed. This is the first page of the plat itself. For the most part, this is the standard first page of a plat, but there are some additional plat notes addressing the new HOA. These notes explicitly state that tracts H and M are to be owned and maintained by a separate HOA under the name of Cascade Estates, and new lots will be subject to a new declaration of covenants, conditions, and restrictions, which will need to be formed and recorded before the plat can be fully executed and recorded. Page 2 shows the plat itself, including the 32 residential lots, along with the right-of-way that has been developed and the open space to be dedicated to the new HOA. This is just south of the previous final plat. And this final page shows the outlot reserved for future development, which would be 91.74 acres per this plat. Staff finds that the final plat is in compliance with the subdivision regulations and the comprehensive plan. The plat meets the intent of the zoning district and the Waterfall Canyon preliminary plat. Once again, staff recommends the conditional approval of this plat with the standard condition recommended for all final plats. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Reese?
No, thank you.
Thank you. So we would open this to public comment. Anyone wishing to make public comment?
Aaron Renstrom, Blue Lake Road, within the community. As previously mentioned, right now the only access point is Blue Lake Drive to get in. As I understood it, if I understood correctly from the presentation, that the road surrounding must be complete before approval of the plat or before development of these 32 lots. Am I understanding that correct? Thereby meaning, is the extension of 6375 going to take place? Because if all these extra 32 lots are now being constructed, the extra, once they do become residences, the owners, all the people that live there coming in and out, are they all going through Blue Lake solely? Because my understanding from that plat, which was very not clear on the lower right side of the dark line, does the road get completed so that Blue Lake is not the single and sole access point into the district or the neighborhood?
So the plat, as shown, dedicates the lots immediately adjacent to the already developed rights-of-way. Future filings, and I see Scott standing up here, future filings would include additional rights-of-way, which will also include additional ingresses and egresses into the Waterfall Canyon subdivision. That's not being developed as part of this plat, but future filings would include future rights-of-way.
Can we show the image in your presentation again? I think it was page 2 of the plat, please. So that dark line, the vertical on the right-hand side, to me, I presume is the extension of 6375. That is not actually part of the plat, even though it's darker than the lightened lines of existing. Is that accurate?
I can chime in here. So, hi, Scott
Yeah.
Murphy, city engineer. So within the parent preliminary plat for all of Waterfall Canyon, all the remaining of Waterfall Canyon, part of that is a filing plan. And so what they do is they have all these various final plat filings under that original parent plan for the whole neighborhood. So this is filing 6. Filing 7 is actually when the extension of 6375 is triggered and that second entrance point. So it's not part of this filing 6B in this case, but is part of 7. And that those triggers and that filing plan is worked out with EMS, emergency responders, and when they feel like they would need that second entrance. And so that's what drove the phasing. And that all went through a public process as well, as far as that filing plan, because that filing plan is formally approved for that neighborhood through hearings with the Planning Commission, City Council, and our emergency responders that work out all those filings. So it is coming in the next filing. They won't be able to do any future filings without the 6375 extension or some kind of filing plan changes, which would go through a public process as well.
Okay, so there's a second separate HOA established, Cascade Estates or whatever it was called. It is now driving over and through the existing Waterfall Canyon. Is that accurate? So we have all of that extra. Was Blue Lake Drive, it originally may have met required traffic densities does that still apply 10, 15, 20 years later? Or has these additional plats not taken into consideration the 20-year-old road sizing for the number of residents, cars, et cetera?
And I can speak to that too. So the Waterfall Canyon preliminary plat is for the entire neighborhood, regardless of HOAs and regardless of filings. And so all of those roads and all the traffic studies that accompany them are for the whole neighborhood, regardless of how they split up HOAs. So those are all master planned from the beginning and are continue to be built out in accordance with that master plan.
Thank you.
Still Susan Kroll, 1403 Blue Lake Drive. My concern is for this development and all other developments that come before the council. Since Western Colorado as a whole, seems to be lately, and for the past decade in some, a drought area, I'm concerned as to water taps that will be granted along with these 32 lots. Everyone is going to get a water tap. At what point is the city council going to say, we will not approve this, pardon me, because we are concerned about whether or not we can meet water demands? I mean, we may create a larger and more efficient water treatment plant, but we only have so much water to give people. And since we seem to be getting less and less and less every year, we can't keep on building. It seems to me at some point the city needs to become responsible to the point that they impose a moratorium on new construction. Are these 32 houses going to have water taps? Yes, they are. Can we meet that demand? Who knows? And if you keep on approving more subdivisions or more development within Waterfall Canyon, those people will need water taps as well. I don't know where that water's coming from.
Actually, we do know, and Mr. Murphy was kind enough to come back up and.
Yeah, and maybe if there's a couple of, you just want to get through all the comment, then I'll answer these questions kind of as a bunch if that works. So yeah, we have an answer for that, and I'll speak to that.
Well, if you can make that public knowledge, how you think you're going to meet all those demands.
Just right now, yeah, yep. So let's get through public comment, and then
All right,
I
thank
can
you.
answer those and others.
Hi, Lori Connell, 826 Howard Fork Avenue. As a resident in Waterfall Canyon, it is a relief to hear there will be a new HOA, Cascade Estates. I have empathy for the residents of Cascade Estates because they will have the same issues that we have dealt with for the past few years, and I wish that on no one. I hold you, the city of Montrose, accountable for these issues. The developer probably thinks that I'm mad at him for the problems that we have dealt with, but you, the city of Montrose, is the problem. You allow a developer to open up each HOA with the same CC&Rs. Those CC&Rs make it virtually impossible for the HOA community to ever vote on anything. Do you know that 72% of our community has to be at our yearly meeting for a vote to take place? This is pretty much unattainable. Also, the CCRs have a clause stating the developer can quit claim to the HOA certain pieces of land. You probably already know that. These are parcels he has no use for, so he gives them to the HOA. Unimproved, hills, rocks, boulders, rough grade, no conduits for water. Waterfall Canyon has spent close to $100,000 on 2 areas about the size of 3 building lots that were quit claimed to us. Yes, so far we've only completed 2 areas and we have more to come. Cascade Estates will most likely have the same CC&Rs that we do. I'm sure their CC&Rs will include a quit claim for the newly annexed 7-acre pond and also the smaller pond on the south side. I also hold you accountable for the gravel pit that we have on the south side of our development. Possibly 2% of this gravel has stayed in our development. The majority has been trucked to Bear Creek and other destinations unknown. Last summer, 30 to 40 dump trucks per day drove on the south and east side of our neighborhood on 2 dirt roads, Lake Hope and 6375. The developer started crushing and mining gravel about 2 weeks ago, so that will be happening all over again. That means noise, dirt, can't really go out in the backyard. So my questions for you are, what kind of encouragement could the city give the developer so unattainable quorums are no longer a part of the CCNRs? 2, how can the city discourage the developer from
30
quit
seconds.
claiming very unimproved parcels and ponds that carry great and high expense for the HOA? This is very unusual with developers to do this to an HOA. When will you enforce the code that says gravel mining in an area has to stay in the development or an adjacent development? And you've already answered my 4th one. When will the 2 roads be paved? Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
John Brown. My question is for the young man in the yellow shirt. His statement was, we need to hurry up and get this thing voted on, and then we'll explain it. That's very reminiscent of our Congress saying the same thing, and our senators saying the same thing in the national level, state level. We have to pass it before we can read it. I think we need to have the information available in a form that we can understand it before this council votes on it. Thank you.
Sorry if I wasn't clear there. The intent is totally just to get through the comment, and then I can answer the questions together just to be more efficient before they vote. So just to make that clear.
Well, okay.
That's absolutely the intent, is to not vote, then talk about it. Sorry, no, that's.
Let's hurry up and vote.
No.
And then we'll explain.
If you ever been to a planning commission meeting, they'll do all the comment, and then we compile a list of questions, just to, so it's not a bunch of back and forth, it keeps it more efficient, so. That's the only place I was going. Sorry if I gave the wrong impression there.
I'm Ruth Hoffman, and I live at 1541 Gold Creek, and I just have a quick question. On the 32 residential lots where it said medium density, are these single-family residential lots then, or duplex, quad units, whatever? That's my question.
We'll include that in some of the group answer at once we're done with public comment. If that's okay. Any more public comment?
Could you repeat that, please?
We'll include that answer. No, if there's no more public comment, then we'll go ahead and we'll start answering some of that.
Yeah, so I can start with the water resources piece. So I'm the city engineer, and part of my job is managing all of our water resources. So we look at them. We have a water resources master plan. It's in draft form because it's a pretty living document. We visit it and go through it pretty often. So right now we're using about 40% of our available water resources at a population within our water service area of about 14,000, because not all of city limits is within the water city service area. Tri-county service portions, Chipeta service portions, things of that sort. So quite a bit of room to grow. And ours come out of our physical water is delivered from the Gunnison through the Gunnison Tunnel, but our water resources are allocated in Ridgeway Reservoir, which relative to the size of its basin, even on bad years, our 10,000 acre feet, which is 10,000 of the 75,000 acre feet, which makes up Ridgeway, is allocated for our municipal purposes, and relatively secure. It's kind of the bottom of the pools that make up the various uses within Ridgeway Reservoir. So for that reason, we wouldn't have basis to issue a moratorium. Some cities do, where they're at the end of their water resources. For our planning efforts, we think we have about 50 years at least to grow. And as we get closer, we would look to develop more water resources if necessary, if they exist. But generally in the West, the Colorado is over-allocated, and there are major systemic issues on the Colorado system. But as a city, we're sitting really well, and we're, regardless of treatment, so that, there's talk of another treatment plant, but that wouldn't change our water resources. Our water resources are set regardless of the treatment plant quantity. And again, we're only using about 40% of that allocation. We are seeing water use per capita going down, which is great, and that's what we're trying to promote, just to have more responsible use of that water. I think maybe let Will speak to some of the CCNR, duplexes, things of that sort, and our role in those.
Yeah, so with any subdivision plat, which would include like an open space such as we have here, where we have two open space tracts, What we require, as far as the CCNRs, we require an HOA to be formed and those CCNRs to be recorded with the county so that there is a mechanism for those open space tracts to be owned and maintained by that HOA. However, we do not, the city council does not approve or review the CCNRs themselves. And part of that is because CCNRs are always subject to change. There can always be a new document that's recorded with the county without city council review and approval for those new CCNRs. As far as what the lots could theoretically accommodate, given that the zoning is R3A, out of the 32 lots, 12 are large enough that they theoretically could accommodate duplexes. The rest are all small enough that they would only allow for single-family homes. That being said, this is a platting action. City council is not reviewing or approving building permits at this time. Given the zoning, it theoretically could allow for multifamily, a large apartment building, but with the proposed lot lines, that could not be accommodated within this filing. And then,
I think
are there
that
any other
answers
questions?
pretty much most of the questions we had heard. All right. Well, and with that case, well, we have closed public comment, so we would entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the Waterfall Canyon filing number 6B, final plat expressly conditioned upon city staff ensuring that all policies, regulations, ordinances, and municipal code provisions are met, and that the applicant adequately address all of staff's concerns prior to execution of the final plat. The city staff is not authorized by this approval to execute the final plat prior to all conditions being satisfied.
I'll second.
Motion and a second. Please vote. And like the last two issues, this is 3 yes and 1 abstention. And we'll be moving on to staff reports, but if someone could retrieve Mr. Reed for us, please. All right, moving on to our staff reports. We will start with our sales, use, and excise tax report from Sales Tax Manager Leanne Whitaker.
Thank you, Mayor Frank, and good evening, everybody, members of council and members of the community. I am connecting. Okay, this is the sales, use, and excise tax collection report for June 2025. We'll start with the general fund sales and use tax portion, which is 3% of our total rate. June 2025 collections compared to June 2024 in the general fund. Retail sales collections were up 2.9%. Construction use tax collections were down 42.3%. Use and auto use tax was down 11.6%, and total collections were up 1.2%, which resulted in a neutral budget variance of 0%. 2025 year-to-date collections compared to 2024 for the general fund. Retail sales tax collections are up 2.4% or $293,000. Construction use is up 32.7% or $90,000. Use and auto use tax is up 2.2% or $18,000, with total collections up 3% or $400,000. This results in a positive budget variance of 1.8% or $246,000. Moving on to the public safety sales and use tax portion. Effective January 1st, 2020, the city began collecting an additional 0.58 sales and use tax as approved by the voters on November 5th, 2019. This funding is used in conjunction with a general fund transfer to increase public safety in our community. June 2025 collections compared to June 2024 for the Public Safety Fund. Retail sales tax collections are up 3.3%. Construction use tax is down 54.6%. Use and auto use tax is down 11.6%, with total collections up 1%, resulting in a positive budget variance of 0.4%. Year-to-date collections compared to 2024 for the Public Safety Fund. Retail sales tax is up 3.1% or $74,000. Construction use tax is up 25.1% or $17,000. Use and auto tax is up 2.2% or $3,000. And total collections are up 3.6% or $95,000. And this results in a positive budget variance of 3.7% or $80,000. Our Montrose Recreation District portion, effective June 1st, 2014, the city began collecting an additional 0.3 sales and use tax as approved by the voters on April 1st, 2014. This funding is used to assist in financing the new community recreation center. June 2025 collections totaled $263,489. This is an increase of 0.9% compared to June 2024. Year-to-date collections total $1,406,428, and a year-to-date comparison is up 3.6% or $48,000. Moving on to our hotel and restaurant excise taxes. The hotel excise tax adds 6% to the total sales tax rate. This increase, effective January 1st, 2025, was approved by the voters on November 5th, 2024. Funding will be used to support tourism, affordable housing, right-of-way, public transportation, and childcare needs in our community. And the restaurant excise tax adds 0.8% to the total sales tax rate. June 2025 collections compared to June 2024. Hotel excise collections are up 593%. Again, that looks like a really big increase, and that's because the rate went from 0.9% to 6%. So things I'm sure will level out a little bit next year, but for now, it's fun. Restaurant excise tax is up 8.3%, and total collections are up 164.4%, and this results in a positive budget variance of 151.7%. Year-to-date collections and excise tax, hotel excise is up 497.9% or $399,000. Restaurant excise is up 6.5% or $21,000, with total collections up 103.9% or $420,000. And this results in a positive budget variance of 95.9% or $404,000. Lastly, we'll talk about our retail sales enhancement program. In 1990, vendors agreed to give up a portion of their fee for timely filing to fund this program. This funding promotes retail sales in the city of Montrose. June 2025 collections totaled $65,142. This is an increase of 3% compared to June of 2024. Year-to-date collections total $333,025, which is an increase of 2.5% or $8,000 compared to year-to-date in 2024. And that is all the data I have this evening. If anyone has questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Any questions for Leanne? Thank you. As always, very enlightening. And now we'll move on to the next item, our second quarter budget review. Finance Director Shani Wittenberg.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and City Council. Yes, this is the second quarter budget review, basically for your benefit to know how our major funds are doing. Most of our funds are not in the report I provided to you in the packet, and it's been changed because now it is readable, accessible to the public, to all the public. So if anybody has any questions about specific numbers, please give me a call or send me an email. I'd be happy to answer them. But just a few highlights. All the major funds are either at or above 50% for revenue collections, and they're below or at 50% for expenditures. So they're doing very well. Everybody's aware of what's budgeted, how to spend it, that type of thing. To highlight the 6% lodging tax revenue, we have collected $479,472 for the 5 specific areas that were in the ordinance, and we have not spent any of that funding as of yet. So just for general public consumption, we're not spending it until we have a plan.
And to reiterate that if any member of the public has any question on the budgetary process or where our budget is, that our staff is more than willing to reach out and explain where things are going. City Manager Bell is always excited to talk about budgets. So if you have any questions about the budget, Mr. Bell is always a great resource as well. And are there any questions for Shaney? All right. Are there any other staff reports?
I have one. Can I share my screen? I have a project update. And so yeah, this is an update and I'd say a little bit of a celebration, honestly, of reaching a milestone in a project. So this is about our Veterans Memorial Plaza project that we've been working on for quite a while. I wanted to give this update with a timeline of things that have been occurring in the project and actually over several years of work on this to kind of try to highlight what's been happening and where we're at now, kind of what our next steps would be. So I'll go through this. There's a lot of text here, and you may not be able to read it from where you are, but it will be included in the packet, and I also send out through email. So you can use this in the future if needed to help jog your memory of the last several years of accomplishment on this project. So we actually began this back in 2022. We began working with the Montrose Veterans Memorial Coalition. We entered into an MOU with them in August of 22 to utilize Cerise Park at the time for this project. A year and a half later, the veterans actually terminated that MOU because of desires to change the concept of the project at the time. So then we began reviewing city properties that could be utilized for that project in February of 24. And we evaluated several properties. The City Council was obviously very involved in that. I'm sure you remember that. We looked at several properties and ended up selecting the property near Botanical Gardens that we've been working on design. Shortly after that, we developed an MOA that the city, the county, and the Veteran Coalition would agree to all different responsibilities as far as the MOA is concerned, and establishing location, a different location, and also one major change was that the city would oversee the design process as part of this MOA that we are in now. And there's for a lot of reasons. One is that we want any city infrastructure open to the public to be designed to a standard that we would design any public park to. So a Veterans Memorial is no exception to that, and that's why we wanted to follow our own design processes through that. The city intends to own and maintain this property into perpetuity. So anyway, that's why we selected this portion of the MOA to have our own design process. In June of 24, so shortly thereafter, we approved the MOA. This was also approved by the veterans and Montrose County. And in this document here, I've kind of outlined the process, and that was a really important part of that MOA is establishing a step-by-step process for this project to follow. And starting off by procuring a design team, which we did in September of 24. This may seem like a small task, but for a project of this size, it could actually be very difficult to procure a design team. This design team includes everything from architectural, structural engineering, civil engineering, electrical engineering, and on a small project, those can be very difficult to procure. We have large design teams that we work with, and we do a lot of work in that area, so we're able to leverage some of those relationships we have in the community of design to be able to provide this sort of design at this scale. November of '24, we accomplished item C on this list, which was approving a conceptual design. So putting all the elements in a conceptual level and then presenting those at city council meetings, as well as the Veterans Coalition and Montrose County. Of course, all parties approved at that time, and we moved on with the project. So that was November of '24. Same as we get into detailed level of designs, we're at this point at item D, we're reviewing structural supports for helicopters, and that's one that was a change was made to, which is totally fine. Of course, we want to make design changes as we go. That's why we do design. But in some cases, it does cause us to start over. And one example of that happened on the supports for the helicopter, which was a major element of the design, and it caused our structural design process to start over, which is, again, perfectly normal part of design, but it does take time. You go to move to item F. We're approving each elements and breaking them down into phases. This is where we recognize in the project that it could have been broken into phases and accomplishing part of it sooner. At least the design could have been completed sooner. Mostly speaking about the helicopter element of the project. But as a team, we all decided that it would be better to keep it all together and move it forward as one, rather than break the project into phases. It really doesn't make sense to construct it in phases, so to move it forward in different pieces through design didn't make sense either. So this is an element of the project that we knew was going to take longer, but we decided that intentionally. And then brings us closer to today, item H of approving the final design. That happened recently. I discussed that here with City Council, with the Veterans Coalition, and then also presented at the Board of County Commissioners again, in which all was approved and asked that we continue to move forward. Earlier this year, so moving back a little bit actually, we did procure a contractor to help with the project in pre-con. So they're helping with cost estimating and even material selection, helping through the design process. They've been very helpful. And so Stryker and companies who we've been using for that. And again, they were actually hired early in 2025. And bringing us to currently, kind of the update now is where we have completed design. We've also completed the construction documents of that design and cost estimates that go with it. So all of the design portions are complete. We have documents ready to go. We have cost estimates to help us establish a project budget, and all parties have approved of the final design. That brings us to item K, which is where we are at now, and that is funding the project, which here I think we've indicated that the city and county intend to be financial partners, but had not contributed or had not specified an amount. But irregardless, the Montrose Veterans Memorial Coalition would be funding whatever the city and county don't of the project. And so that, since that has not been defined, that brings us to what the next steps for the project would be, which is to help define what funding elements are from each party. Other items, before I get into next steps, the other items that have been contributed to this project, city and county, is that we provided an electric service to the site. A DMEA transformer has been set on location now to serve this project and others. We also decided to site signage to help identify the site, give it, just people can go visit this and see what it's going to look like. It's a rendering of what the project will be and try to help with fundraising, really. And then also, City Public Works crews expanded the parking lot further to the south by grubbing the area and installing millings, asphalt into the area to be used for parking, which would be the permanent parking for the service to the Veterans Memorial. The city has spent about $90,000 on this project so far, and that's from design to the electric service, all of the elements that we have provided. We have contributed about $90,000 from the tail end of 2024 into 2025. The county has included $100,000 in their 2025 budget for this project. So city and county have stayed about in line with each other as far as contributions towards the project. We have been spending ours on elements to get us here, and the county has been budgeting for those in hopes to use it for this project when it's ready. So the next step is overcoming the funding hurdle. So my suggestion would be that we create a new MOA for this project. Of course, this would be something that's presented and discussed at City Council, so that's not what I'm doing now, but just presenting this would be my intention of the next step. We know that the project's value or budget for the project would be about $900,000. And the MOA, again, being three parts, the City Council, County Commissioners, and the Veterans Memorial Coalition would be the three entities as part of that MOA as well. And again, would be my recommendation that we draft that and begin considering that. That would, again, be presented at a future meeting. We can discuss amounts within that at that time, but just giving an update, that's where we intend to go. Unless I hear stop.
So one thing that occurs to me is that when we're talking about the design elements and the design phase and our current design process, our normal design process does not include large stone structures. It does not include helicopters. So the design process on this would inevitably be a longer design process because this includes monuments, stone structures, sculptures. It's more of a monument than a park. So
Yeah,
that seems like that's
Yeah.
inevitable that it's going to be a longer design process.
Yeah, the design on this is different. Some parks and even landscapes can be very basic in the conceptual level rendering and can be built off that. In this case, there's quite a lot to it that takes a much higher level of design. Structural design obviously has to be performed by a structural engineer. Civil design, same thing, getting drainage, electrical engineering. So all those things are required. Like we're not choosing; they're required that we perform that level of design for this level of project. Again, if it were a smaller landscape project, sometimes that's not necessarily required. It can be done off of a rendering, but in this case, it's well beyond that level of a project and needs this sort of design.
Very good, thank you. Any other questions?
I have one. So with respect to the gap funding to be provided by the Veterans Coalition, do they have funds set aside now currently for that gap funding, or will they have to raise the necessary funds, partially one or all?
You know, I'm not aware, honestly, of where they're at funding-wise. My assumption is it's probably some of both, that they maybe have some funding for the project, but would also have to do additional fundraising to get to the point to be able to do this project. Probably depending somewhat on how much the city and county may agree to contribute as well.
But if I understood you correctly, actual construction would not commence until the funds had been raised, correct?
That's right, yeah. That is a part of the existing MOA is that we would not begin construction until funding is received for that entire portion of construction, correct?
And I suppose it goes without saying that depending on when those funds are raised, that budget number could change. So what the county and the city are willing to contribute, I mean, it seems like it could be a moving target depending on where the Veterans Coalition is with respect to the funds available.
Absolutely, yeah, and that is a challenge with, construction pricing changes. So we have an estimate that was performed as of today, so it's accurate right now. And we can use it as a budget number, I feel comfortable with it for some time, but yeah, if we get years down the road, it will no longer apply.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Mr. Scheid? Thank you, Jim. That's very good. That's very eloquently stated and gives a lot of information for people to understand why the timeline is being the way it is, that the design process is far more involved. Are there any other staff comments or reports? Well, in that case, we'll move on to city council comments. Are there any city council comments? I just wanted to mention that this last weekend that MATA had their fiesta, their annual party, and it was a lot of fun. That it was good music, good food, good folks, a lot of fun events going on there. I wanted to give a shout out to the Montrose Police Department again. I mentioned this the other day that they actually had units down there with our mounted unit. They had our canine unit that was there, as well as some of our command staff that spent a lot of time down there. And as well, we also had our DART team and some of our other public outreach teams and our visitor center group that were there representing the city and did a great job. And I wanted to say kudos and thank you. You guys did a lot of hard work, and it was really paid off. And it was really fun watching Deputy City Manager Morgan Thaler putting together little paper piñatas. That was very cool. That was very fun. Thank you for your time. If there are no other city council comments, then we are adjourned.